Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast, where, as ever, I'm joined by Stef. Hello, Stef.
Hi, mate.
Unfortunately, Chris can't be with us this evening. Hi, Chris. He'll be back for the next one when we're celebrating a 3-0 win over City from the Etihad, yeah? So someone's saying, what year is Chris back at that point? Okay, so Atalanta yesterday, Man City on Sunday, but I just want to start off with a little word about Arsenal women. They unfortunately went down 1-0 in the first leg of their final qualification tie in the Champions League in Häcken in Sweden. The return leg is next Thursday at Boreham Wood. Hopefully, I mean, again, it's reading a report of the game. It's missed chance after missed chance after missed chance. It seems to be a cracked record from this team. And for the first time online, I've been reading how Jonas Eidevall is under a bit of pressure as Arsenal's manager. And Arsenal kick off the Premier League season at home to Man City on Sunday. And I didn't know it was at the Emirates. How bad is that? It's not a sellout, but there aren't that many tickets left. So good luck on Sunday, and as importantly, probably next Thursday. A 1-0 deficit shouldn't be too difficult to turn around, but you know, hopefully they can do that.
As I love narrative, obviously Vivian Miedema is now at City.
Yes.
And so we'll be playing against her old club and against her current partner in Beth Mead. So yeah, the fact that Arsenal keep missing chances, you know, and she
was quite clinical.
He's quite the prolific goal scorer. Certainly was. Yeah. Okay. Well, but look,
I'm assuming that game's live on telly somewhere.
Must be. Yeah.
I don't even know the time kickoff. I should have checked the kickoff time because it surely can't overlap with 4:30, the men's kickoff time at City. But anyway, on to the men's. We got a very dogged 0-0 draw away at Atalanta. I have to, full disclosure for me, I didn't see any of the game bar 10 minutes. And it just so happened that 10 minutes covered the penalty incident. So it's kind of clouded my judgment on the game. I haven't read an awful lot about the game. Some observations. I think this one's really quite cool. Jack Porter was named on the Arsenal bench. Do you know who he is?
No.
He's the youngest ever keeper to be named in a Champions League matchday squad, age 16 years and 2 months.
Ridiculous. So
fair play to him. That must have been an amazing day or couple of days for him. So well done to him. We had 9 touches in the Atalanta penalty box. And I know we're going to we'll touch on this a few times. Is this the Odegaard problem, or have we set our stall out? We knew we had 3 tough away games. We didn't create much from open play against Spurs, nor last night. I think there was 1 shot on target in the entire match. Defensively, we've looked pretty good. I know we conceded a penalty yesterday, but that can happen. I've seen people online say it was a soft penalty. The test for me is always, if that was in the other box, would I want a penalty? And I would want a penalty. It wasn't for the tug; it was for the coming together of the legs inside the box. I thought it was a penalty. I didn't think for a second it would be overturned, and I was curious as to why there was such a long VAR check. But what was your opinion on the penalty?
Yeah, exactly the same. I do exactly the same kind of test. If it's the other way, what do I want? And like you say, I mean, maybe they were questioning whether it was inside or outside the box. But like you say,
it started outside with the tug, but it wasn't the tug.
Yes, the clipping of the heels, and like you say, he goes down, and like it's fine.
So that aside, so in relation to the Odegaard's absence situation, interestingly, Saka, I mentioned this in the previous pod about Saka possibly being an option for his replacement short term. I went against it ultimately because I didn't want to remove one of the best players in his position in world football, to kind of create even more of an issue in our attack. However, his heat map from last night's game was very different to all his previous heat maps. He was predominantly occupying the Odegaard position on his heat map, which is interesting. So inside, I don't know what you'd call it, inside right, it's the right 8 or the right, I don't know how you label Odegaard's position. It's quite fluid. But you certainly watched more of the game than I did. How did we set up from kickoff? And what was did you notice anything about Saka's kind of redefined role for last night?
The Saka position didn't stand out to me massively. What stood out to me initially in the setup, it felt like the midfield 3, Partey, Rice, and Havertz predominantly, with Jesus in the centre forward lane, basically trying to harry and harass. The difference is, and it's an interesting one, we say about Odegaard's miss in his position and whether that led to us having fewer touches in the opposition box. But actually, without Havertz up top as far forward as possible, and him and the ball being able to stick to him, and him then bring other people into play, and ceding that kind of territory might also be a factor. But at the same time, as we'll probably talk about in how we set up for different games and different situations, the Arsenal team is quite fluid even within a game. There were times when Martinelli would be as far wide as he could and then would be slightly more inside. There were times when Havertz would step forward and try and be that option to hit long so that he could win the aerial duel. But predominantly, it was Jesus who was kind of leading the line and harrying as best he could. What I seem to notice, obviously we'd gone very strong with the lineup.
Can we? I'm sorry, I should have started with that.
Well,
because I was, as you're aware,
yes,
I was quite cross at the team news. It wasn't about last night's game. My issue wasn't playing Saka and Havertz, because they're the two I had an issue with, and Timber. But it wasn't an issue with Saka playing last night. It was because of Sunday's game. He went off with cramp against Spurs. Why on earth is he starting last night? Now, I was pleased that he came off on what it was, 67 minutes. So that will have kind of preserved his fitness to some degree. But I was cross. And you then said, this is not a game. It's Champions League. It's away. It's not a game to rotate. And what was the phrase you used? The backups, or what was it?
Remember.
It was
like fringe players.
Yeah, fringe players. You said fringe, and I'm like, well, come on. Jesus isn't a fringe player.
I know.
Sterling's not a fringe player. Not like if it was. I said to you, if it was Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, I'd say fair enough. Calafiori isn't a fringe player. So I think the big test on Arteta, he's wanted a deeper squad. He's now got a deeper squad. He has to use it.
My feeling is, fringe player is probably me mislabeling it, in the sense that I then did explain that, there are those other players that could have been options to rotate. And look, we all predicted, before the game, at the end of our sort of Spurs review pod that we did last time, we all rotated way more than Arteta did yesterday. And I was trying to maybe just kind of think of it from his point of view. And I think now, upon reflection, Tottenham, we were more defensive. We knew Odegaard wouldn't be there, so that high-intensity pressing that he offers, I think that's probably the big difference that will change the way we set up. And we just have to it's maybe being a little bit humble and being a bit more defensive in a way, which does perhaps create a certain kind of demand on players, But I think the high up the pitch, high intensity pressing that Odegaard does is probably more intense in some ways. It's more about a concentration, maybe a mental thing when you're defending and or when you're trying to soak up and then hit on the counter. But anyway, and all I was just thinking was, that Sterling's come from an interesting sort of situation with Chelsea, and Jesus, all right, he started, but the commentators said that his minutes were being managed because of his injury and blah, blah, blah. So I think there are other factors as to why it probably couldn't rotate as much as it could. I also then got a bit defensive of the whole thing and thought, look, this is the Champions League. And as much as City on Sunday is important, and to me, out of the 3 games, is probably the most important because they are our direct rivals. The Champions League isn't as set as a league situation in what you've got to do, how you've got to do it. And Spurs, all right, it's a local derby, but ultimately we're not competing with them in the league situation. So the City game is the most important. But I can also see the arguments for continuing with a similar setup for momentum's sake. Rice was always going to come back in because he's such a great midfielder and we want him. That was a chance for him to get the minutes in his legs. There were talks and reports that Saka throughout the week had been light training. He was doing maybe half sessions or finishing sessions early.
But this is week 4.
Yes, and England have got their own blame to carry for that.
So don't start him.
Yeah.
Sterling needs to get up to pitch as well.
And he's going to have to do that. Look, Arteta's obviously chosen a way to go for it. He's going to have to do that with his appearances off the bench. We did make the early subs. I think there's some concession from Arteta that is the case. Substitutions being made earlier and so on and so forth. But ultimately,
Havertz played the full 90, didn't he?
Yes, he is. But I do wonder if he's one of these players where, some players do need to come in and out of the side. Other players can have the stamina and seem to be able to manage it. Look, there's always going to be a breaking point. And
exactly, that's what he played for both games for Germany as well. Yeah,
and it may be that they all carry their fitness in slightly different ways, and I just think
he certainly seems robust. Havertz, like
in the same
Xhaka
way that
was.
Rice was, and Rice as well. Yeah, exactly. Appearance monsters, as someone once coined them.
You don't want to risk it though,
And then I got to thinking about our mindset. Look, I'm Mr. Pessimistic and Mr. Negative all the time. I would wrap players up in cotton wool for certain games and not others. But, these elite players and, this elite manager, yes, he has a duty of care for his players. Totally get what you're saying. But at the same time, he'll be thinking of the competitions we're in this season, it's Champions League, it's league. And I know that then doesn't detract from the City game on Sunday. But like we were saying just before we hit record, we don't quite know how this Champions League format is going to play out. We're playing a couple of tough games early doors. Atalanta away was not necessarily easy. They had their chances in the game. Europa League winners, very buoyant. New stadium finally completed. Very positive way that they play. And we've drawn. Next game, PSG. Actually, if we've got 2 draws, then the pressure builds to those later games, which should be our, inverted commas, easier games. So then you can start to understand, why Arteta wanted to go and get as much as he could out of the game. Look, I'm looking at the Atalanta game and thinking 0-0, great, away from home, Italian team who are, very solid. We've done well to get that. So,
well, do you think that Arteta did go with a view to definitely winning the game? Because I've been reading that we were happy. I mean, I think the Atalanta manager said in his post-match presser that Arsenal were happy with the draw.
Right. So then we get into the game. It did feel, and this is why I'm thinking that the way we've approached the Spurs game, then into the Atalanta game, and you wait till you see what I think of the City game. I think we're approaching them in such a way that it is about it. There's a handbrake on, in a sense, but that's not how we started the game. I felt the first 20-25 minutes there was a lot of intensity to our play. Jesus really impressed me with his work rate and some of his contributions. And generally, I thought we were pretty good on the front foot. Perhaps, would have been, if we'd taken the lead, then it's, that's an obvious thing to say, but obviously then it would change our approach. Because what it felt like then was at that 20-25 minute mark, we suddenly went a little bit compact. Atalanta got their foot on the ball a bit more, and we went into that thing where we were essentially defending the width of the penalty box and playing with that counter, almost with that kind of Christmas tree formation. So probably why Saka, I didn't notice this until you sort of pointed out the heat map, that would have been at the time when Saka maybe drifted in a little bit, because then he forms a kind of two with Martinelli pressing at the top, with then Havertz and dropping into the midfield and pressing from there. And so it did feel like a game that we weren't going to take huge amounts of risk in. And then ultimately, especially having got away with the penalty incident, you do come away thinking, actually, we'll take a draw, fine. We couldn't exactly exert ourselves in the way that maybe we wanted to, but this has been a good performance. We've brought players off early, and it's not lost us the game. And, we carry on unbeaten going away to the champions. Yeah,
again, my issue wasn't with last night's game. Havertz playing the full 90 minutes. Had Saka played the full 90 minutes, my issue would have been, okay, how are they going to perform to maximum capacity for 90 minutes on Sunday?
Well, then I've got another issue. Look at the bloody scheduling.
Well, okay, but I said this phrase, it is what it is. Like we knew that, so then you manage, and it's gone against us this time, but it'll go work for us the next time, another time. I'm not into the conspiracy behind scheduling. It's like, there were other games played on Thursday night. It wasn't ideal, but it's like UEFA not, looking at the Premier League schedule,
But there needs to be, and it's interesting because I've read a couple of different things this week from Guardiola and Rodri, who are now being very vocal about potential player strikes, and that scheduling should be led by the players almost. And so the players kind of say what they're capable of and what's acceptable as recovery time for them. And I can't believe that isn't the case already. I know there's this edict that essentially that, like we had, Thursday into Sunday is basically the bare minimum, I think, regardless of what company is organising it. But come on, because what we want to see, this is the thing. All right, you'll probably blame Arteta if we do look a bit leggy or whatever on Sunday.
I will.
Yes, and I'm sure you will. But ultimately, the Premier League and UEFA want teams at their best for the best product. Word I hate using, but they're selling this on TV as a spectacle, and we want to watch it as the best games and whatever. Well, there has to be some kind of slack given where teams are able to prepare in the best way possible.
Well, you've got this club tournament at the end of the season with Chelsea and City. Nonsense. That's a joke.
It's a nonsense.
It's all about. I'm not sure they're bothered about the best spectacle. I understand that from a marketing perspective, it would make sense. Make it as attractive as you can, and then it attracts bigger money, etc.
Less is
more.
They
just want more games, and more games, and more games.
We want better games with more jeopardy. That's what I want.
City are playing in the League Cup on Tuesday, 2 days after our game.
Yeah, but this is the thing.
I know, it's different.
Yeah.
Because it's home against whoever team they've got.
And you prioritise. Arteta and Arsenal at the moment are prioritising Champions League and Premier League. If it was Bolton that we had on the Thursday, what was his name? Jack Porter? He'd have been starting. He'd have been in goal, 16, Go into school tomorrow, swagger in, because we played Bolton. Atalanta away in the Champions League. No, I'm gonna, put that team in. But
I only wanted Saka and Havertz to start on the bench. That was my wish. And I thought it was possible with the players we had available. It was possible without suffering too much of a drop off. I get without Odegaard's high press and without Havertz high press, then maybe there's a drop off there. But Jesus is relentless in his how many minutes he's got is another question at the moment, because he's getting back to match fitness.
And it's funny you say that, because of course Saka, star boy, want him protected or whatever, but even with Odegaard out the side, yes, it might change. Look, it changes our approach slightly, but we should be able to find another way to try and win a game, even if that means relying on fewer chances, definitely prioritising set pieces. I did read some people saying, look, whilst Odegaard is out of the team, we're going to have to get used to this defence first approach, but we're here for it, because we've played 5 games this season, 4 clean sheets, conceded 1 goal. It's amazing.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what worries me about if we were going to take the Atalanta game to be the opportunity for rotation that we think it was, for me, Saliba, Gabriel. Because boy, without probably either of them at the minute, it used to be very much, Saliba, the one we want to look after, Gabriel can be deputised for, but I'm not even sure of that. Gabriel's been an absolutely brilliant player this year.
I guess then it's the fitness of Calafiori or Kivior.
Exactly.
Kivior hasn't played much. Calafiori would be the replacement for Gabriel. But yeah.
He came on, did okay, and it's one of those situations. And I think, as you said, you've been reading, I think it's this defence-first approach which is also informing the way we've set up for these games, which probably made Arteta feel like he could go with the strong side that he did, because those players would be inhibiting. Saka wasn't going to be up and down. Havertz wasn't required to be as all action as he, sometimes can be. Obviously, he was a bit for Spurs, but not so much last night against Atalanta.
Yeah. Look, I'm not disappointed with the 0-0 draw at Atalanta. Chris has messaged in his thoughts on last night. We didn't lose again. We showed with collective and individual defending, brackets Raya, that when we're not at our best or nowhere near it, we can still grind out results.
And that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
He's also saying that we miss Odegaard on so many levels. The knock-on effect is certainly being felt, and I don't think we're quite adjusted yet, given there's nobody quite like him, which is fair enough.
And I think, it will probably take a few games. I think Arteta will certainly... We'll probably be certainly, humble and cautious with the nature of the opposition that we've had this week. Local derby, away to an Italian team in the Champions League, and then away to the champions. So it will be a kind of, okay, we batten down the hatches, siege mentality, all that kind of, cliched nonsense. I think after that, when we then get into fixtures like Leicester, I think Bournemouth is coming up a bit further down the line or whatever, then we might look at different ways that the attack can function to negate Odegaard's absence.
Yes, we certainly don't want to be setting out the way we've set out against Spurs, Atalanta, and presumably on Sunday. We certainly don't want to be replicating that kind of performance attitude against a home to Leicester the following week.
No.
Because, no disrespect to Leicester, but, we need to be playing on the front foot. And I'm sure we will. I can't imagine for a second that we won't. So,
and that will come in time. But while we've got the defence we've got, boy, is it reassuring. I mean...
Can I
go on.
Can I point to say something? So, David Raya has been attracting the highest praise this season. Last night's double save was ridiculous. The Ollie Watkins save was impressive. The Wolves game, I can't remember who it was, but he was going the wrong way, and there's another save as well. I just can't recall it at the moment, which is great and it's brilliant to see. But should we be worried that he's a little bit too busy behind this solid defence?
Okay, so I mean, there's always going to be chances. Like you say, the penalty last night, that happens. Although it was Partey that gave it away, and he is looking
leggy,
not amazing in the minute. I don't even know if he looks leggy. There's a term in boxing where a fighter can be described as getting old overnight, and Partey. Yeah. I do wonder if that's kind of the thing. The Villa one, look, Villa are a really good side, and they've been carving out chances against teams like all season. They're very positive in the way they're sort of playing, and Watkins is a good striker. So, there was likely to be chances in those games. The Wolves one, I mean, that's showing itself to be ridiculous because Wolves are pretty terrible at the minute. But yeah, maybe he has been a bit busy. So
you're not worried about the defence that...
No,
Rice has been exposed
Rice
too
is
much.
Back now. Rice is back now. It's fine. I'm not really.
This is true. One more observation from me on last night. Martinelli missed a gilt-edged chance put through by Sterling. He's got 0 goals in his last 16 games. Defensively, I can't speak for last night, but against Spurs, he was a monster. He was absolutely relentless and superb. And maybe... I mean, that would have been the perfect away performance in Europe had he tucked that away. What was your thought? What were your thoughts on the actual miss itself? Because I haven't seen it.
It's not as gilt-edged as it might be described as, but I mean, he's got to get things on target.
People were just saying he needed to slow down a little bit.
Yes. He's like Speedy Gonzalez. He's just, it's all action. And it's composure. It's about composure. Trossard has it. Havertz has it at times. Saka has it in spades. Martinelli is... We've been saying this the whole of the season, haven't we? That there's no one we would love more to get a goal and hopefully boost his confidence, because it's becoming a point now where sometimes you can get a sense of like when a player feels under pressure or doesn't. And watching... over these last 2 games, maybe not the Tottenham one actually.
Well, he had the chance against Spurs as well.
Well, he did.
That's why I pointed out he's had the 2 best chances in those games.
Because of the nature of the game and the opposition, I wonder if that. And like you say, defensively was just awesome. But Atalanta, I think that might get to him a little bit. And yeah,
it'd be interesting when we come around to picking our teams for Sunday, whether the 3 of us have him in the team or not.
I'll leave that. But yeah, something maybe needs to click, and it's just not clicking at the minute with his finishing.
Okay, we've craned our necks backwards enough now. Let's cast forwards. City on Sunday, 4:30 kickoff. Let me give you some reassuring stats. City are 27 games unbeaten. They're on 13 wins in a row in the league. It's 22 months since they last lost at home. How are you feeling?
All runs must come to an end.
I'm sure that will be reflected in your predicted score.
Okay.
You talk enough crap, don't you?
Yep. But it's an interesting one that I think I said last time out, that City will be thinking about us. And in the last couple of years, our progression and, our mood and our approach and the quality level has just risen so much.
They didn't score against us last season.
They did not score against us last season.
And they played poorly against Inter Milan. And De Bruyne may not be fit.
Couple of things. One, yeah, they didn't play brilliant against Inter Milan. Inter Milan did play a certain way against City. Out of possession, 5-3-2. It was textbook. They forced City out wide and they mopped everything up. It was beautiful to watch. Inter really, really impressed me because it was disciplined. And really, some of the breaks that they had and the counters that they had, they maybe should have got something from that game. They were really impressive. As you say, De Bruyne limped off. Went off at half-time. I think he starts. I think he'll be fine.
But the injury happened just on half-time, so...
I know, exactly. So that kind of gave them the out, and I think he'll be fine. I don't think it was as bad as it was.
Would they risk him if he's even...
Yeah, against Arsenal, yeah. Because whoever their next game is, it won't be as tough as this game. And then just around the corner, maybe in a fixture or two's time, there's another bloody international break. So that's when he'll get his rest, if they need him. The only annoying thing is, who did they bring off the bench? Gundogan and Foden. Brilliant.
They've got a deep squad.
They've got deep pockets and deep briefcases of lawyers. I heard I've got to share this. Listening to the Athletics Totally Football pod. Did you see any of the City game or the highlights?
No.
Right. So you didn't see their kit?
No.
Oh, it's this god-awful special edition kit that's inspired by like the Oasis reunion. So I don't know why, but it's in this kind of bluey yellow thing going on, which is like the colour hue of the Definitely Maybe album. Okay. And apparently the writing on the back, which was like shiny, it was the kind of thing that you would get on like a vape shop sign or something like that. Just awful. Which apparently, I found out since, is Noel Gallagher's handwriting was the font. I mean, it's just, the more you hear about it, the sicker it makes you, and it's just like really bad. But it's an awful kit. And listening to the Totally Football show, one of the pundits on there said, should be 116 charges just for the kit as well, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, crimes against football.
It's not a great kit. And it's one of those kits, like, you look at it and you think, constituent parts, okay, not terrible. It's not one of those ones you immediately go, oh my God, but actually just something about it's just really odd. And I say this as someone who doesn't particularly like any of Arsenal's kits this season, if I'm honest. So, it's one of those. But yeah, God, that was awful. But yeah, Inter Milan were really good. And we can be like that too.
Not enough team, because City have started slowing games. I think they've gone behind in 2 games, 2 of their 4 Premier League games this season. They've gone behind in.
Brentford, Ipswich.
Now, and Brentford they only beat 2-1. Ipswich, we all felt sorry for Ipswich when they scored.
Everyone was going too early.
Yeah, and so it transpired. If we go 1-0 up, City will start getting worried. But we know we are inside City's head. We know that, and they will be focused on us. But
it's also why it's interesting that then I noticed it. I felt our start against Atalanta was quite proactive, quite good. Pressing, Jesus, very sort of all action, and then we contained. If I was being sort of cynical and overthinking things, I would think that Arteta maybe set up the Atalanta game as a training game for the City game.
Well, I do think because of City's slow starts that we will start faster than we did against Spurs, where we definitely sat back.
Yeah, we let Spurs kind of punch themselves out a little bit in a way. So yeah. Different. I mean,
it won't be gung ho. It won't be like you attack, we attack.
No.
You're going, aren't you?
I am going. Yeah.
So, what team do you think you'll be supporting from the terraces?
I think I will be supporting David Raya in goal. That recovery to save.
Oh, we haven't talked about that.
We barely talked about it. I know. That's why I just wanted to mention it because, wow. I mean, it's funny that listening to the commentary on TNT. And I hate watching football on TV now. I'm so spoiled. But Robbie Savage, it was really funny how when it first happened, he was like, best save I think I've ever seen. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. The longer he kept talking, he then kept going, well, actually, the striker should have scored. It's like, well, yeah, he should. But well done, Raya, for the recovery. Both can be true. It's fine.
There's a video going around on TikTok showing fans of other clubs celebrating the award of the penalty. There's about 5 or 6 of them, so they focus on their reaction to the award of the penalty. Yes, all that, and then they show the same 5 or 6 reaction to the penalty, save and the double save. It's another thing of beauty doing the rounds on the internet. I do like it. Go on then.
Back four's exactly the same. White, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber. I'm going for a midfield 3, although where these positions take up might sort of alter. Havertz, Partey, Rice, and then a front three of Saka, Jesus, Martinelli.
Okay, Jesus.
But, like I say, I think, to use the term that Chris used last time, a kind of box midfield. So Partey and Rice being the kind of sitters, really, the more defensive-minded midfielders, and Havertz and Jesus almost forming a two at the front.
Even though you said that Havertz out of the number 9 slot last night was an impediment to our progress.
To a point, yes. It all depends on how we approach the game. If it is a full-on, right, we're going to try and shut City out, Havertz, I think, will be deeper. If at times when we're in possession, especially when we're deep in possession, when Raya's got the ball or one of the back four, Havertz might drift forward to be that focal point. I think it's going to be a fascinating game tactically. I don't actually think it will be that exciting a game because it will be two teams trying to not lose, basically.
Yeah.
Two teams trying to not lose. So I don't think it will be the most, action-packed. I thought the Atalanta game would be, because Atalanta are a bit like that. They're sort of one way or the other, but, we're just so good defensively at the minute that, we kind of snuff things out. It's brilliant.
Okay, Chris's team, he said, a similar resolve required on Sunday where I fancy will revert to a formation similar to the Spurs game. Raya, White-Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Rice, Partey, double pivot, and then his front four, Saka, Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli. So obviously Saka and Martinelli, the wide players, and I think Havertz and Trossard interchanging, like you've just described, Havertz and Jesus.
That was, like you say, the Spurs team. And Trossard was very good in that game. Very good in that game. So look, if Trossard was in for Jesus, who I've got in my... I'm not complaining about that. They're quality players.
Okay,
what about you?
My team is the same back five. I've actually gone for Jorginho instead of Partey, simply because I thought Jorginho would start last night and he'd rest Partey ahead of Sunday. But because he's gone that way round, I don't know. I just point back to Jorginho's record. He's played 11 games, started 11 Premier League games, started last season, and we've I need to remember now, we've won 9, drawn 2, lost 1. But he played both games against City and home to Liverpool, and they didn't score. So possibly, I don't know. You talked about the boxing phrase, he grew old overnight. You've levelled that at Partey, perhaps. You could argue that Jorginho, I didn't think Jorginho had a brilliant game against Spurs. He got caught in possession too many times. So I don't know. I wrote it down. I wrote Partey down first. I crossed him out and I've put Jorginho. So I'm 50-50 between those two. Obviously, Rice will start, and I've gone for Saka and Martinelli as the two wide players, and I've gone for Havertz and Trossard, same as Chris, but I want Havertz as the number 9 and Trossard too. I mean, obviously Havertz is going to drop back, but I want Havertz as the focal point, the furthest point forward, and I want Trossard to drop deeper. He's got that game in him. I don't think he's demonstrated that as such yet, but yeah.
What about a midfield three of Jorginho, Partey and Rice? That would be uber,
Well, it would. I mean, I could see him doing it on the basis that when Rice wasn't playing, he played the two of them, and they kind of covered each other almost. And then Rice playing further forwards, which he's done for West Ham. It's a possibility. It's not necessarily a defensive move, but it certainly adds protection to our back line. I don't know. Do you think he'll do that?
No, not at all. No, I think it'll be one or the other. I think Partey's been pretty much ever present, hasn't he, in the league now? So I think Partey starts and Rice.
Even the concession of the penalty yesterday.
Yeah, I think so. It's one of them.
He came off. Did he come off shortly after that?
Yeah. Again, the substitutes even felt like they'd predetermined.
Pre-planned, yeah.
Pre-planned. This is how long you're going to play. They're trying to work things out for people's workloads and fitness levels, and you hope that they've got that, side of things kind of sussed.
Chris has gone for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
And you have?
I'm going 0-0. I'm predicting that I'm going to go all the way to Manchester and not see a goal. And normally I hate it. I always feel shortchanged if I don't get to celebrate a goal.
How will you feel if it's a 0-0 draw?
I'll
at the
be
end of the
bloody
game?
delighted.
See, okay, I'm going to pull you up on that. I'm going to read you something I've actually taken the time to print out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can see.
Yeah.
Very good.
When they came here, they faced us at the Etihad. I saw them and said, these guys, they don't want to beat us. They just want to draw. Words from Rodri at the end of last season.
Yep.
There's my team talk.
Yep.
Let's show him with control. And I started the previous podcast reviewing the Spurs game with an apology to the Arsenal team because all three of us predicted a draw.
Yeah.
And we didn't back our team. So, unlike you two, and I can't speak ill behind Chris's back, although I might, but you, sir,
Yep.
I'm going for a 1-0 win.
Good for you.
I'm saying that we're going to take that chance that Martinelli missed last night, that Trossard missed last year at the Etihad. We're going to take it this weekend, and we're going to win 1-0, and we're going to finish the weekend top of the league, and City will be rocking.
Don't you get me all excited?
Why not back the team that's got the most ridiculous away record? I think it's the best away record, best run we're on in Premier League history. Better even than the Mourinho Chelsea team in 04-05 that conceded 16 goals all season.
Well, another pundit on a podcast that I was listening to made the same thing. He said, we've seen better attacking sides in the Premier League, but we probably haven't seen as good a defensive side since that Mourinho team. You know, the Makelele era, basically, wasn't it? And,
well,
yeah.
You know, I know we could get tanked 5-0 on Sunday and this will come back to bite me, but we've conceded one goal in 4...
And that's why I defend myself and my feelings.
No. Oh, bless. We've conceded one goal in 4 games. We're on... And we've gone to Villa and gone to Spurs. We're on... And the only reason we conceded a goal at home to Brighton is because we're down to 10 men. Thanks, Kavanagh. Oh, sorry. Michael Oliver's the referee on Sunday, who's also paid by City's owners to travel away and referee, and didn't send Kovacic off for a blatant second yellow card offence. And we did win that game, I have to say, however. So that's a nice PGMOL...
and once gave Martinelli 2 yellow cards in the same incident, never to be seen again.
Right. I distracted myself then. What was I saying?
I don't know. We said this would be a light, easy one.
I must have said something about refereeing because I then talked about Michael Oliver as a distraction, as a segue. I can't remember what I was saying. What was I saying? It was important and powerful. I know it was. I could feel it. I was rising to a crescendo of sense and passion.
About the fact that it's not just about beating the 11 men on the pitch. It's about beating the referee, the VAR, the lawyers in the courts as well. You know, all of that kind of stuff.
I have no idea what I was going to say. But anyway, I mean, I'll listen to this back and I'll remember it then. I think, it was that. It was obvious I was going to say that. And then
look, it's Friday. It's been a long week.
I'm the only one that's going to know. I've got a quiz.
Hey,
because it's only you.
It's mastermind.
There's two. I could ask you 2 questions. The first question is, can you name the Arsenal starting 11 from our last Premier League victory at City, which was in January 2015?
2015. I can name a few, definitely.
But because there's only one of you here, I don't know if... Do you want to have a go?
Yeah.
Go on, then.
Chesney in goal.
No.
What? Fabianski.
No.
Oh, bloody hell.
Off to a flyer.
Ospina,
yes.
Ospina in goal. Mertesacker?
Is, yeah.
Koscielny?
Yeah.
Bellerin?
Yeah.
Ooh.
You did way better than me.
Oh, no, yeah.
How do you know? Thanks.
Coquelin?
He's in midfield, yeah.
Cazorla?
Yeah.
Giroud?
You've looked this team up.
I bloody well have not.
Yes, you have.
Look, the last time we won at City was magic. Okay, I remember it vividly.
You could have at least pretended to find this difficult.
Walcott?
No.
Ozil wasn't there, was he? Yeah.
No.
Oh.
So you've got your left back.
Sanchez.
Yeah, Sanchez, right. Left back, right side midfield.
Who was
and
left back?
The
Monreal.
Yes, left back.
Whoa. I'm missing one player.
2. You're missing
Two.
the right of the front three and the Odegaard role.
Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Is the right of the front three.
Who's a midfielder at that
Now,
point?
this person was the person you didn't get in the quiz last week.
Wait, I didn't get Vieira last week, and it definitely wasn't him.
Oh, no, it's the other one you didn't get. The number of goals.
Aaron Ramsey.
Aaron Ramsey,
Hey,
yes.
that's all right. I'm quite pleased with that.
Okay, the other question...
That's 9 years ago.
The other question was, name the 2 goal scorers. We beat them 2-0.
Oh, Giroud definitely got one.
He did.
Because Gazzola put him through. So I'm going to go Mertesacker header.
No. It was, I think it might have been a penalty. I'm not 100% now.
Oh, a penalty. Who was taking penalties at that point? It would be, well, probably Sanchez, I'd guess.
Nope.
Or Ramsey.
Oh,
Santi Cazorla. Oh, what a player.
Santi and Giroud.
Santi and Giroud. Lovely. Wasn't that the game that famously Wenger was obviously starting the week, preparing the team, and apparently the team had a private meeting and went to Wenger and said, boss, can we defend against City and try and hit them on the counter? And Wenger went, okay, if you like. Yes, okay, we'll try it. And we won.
That's a good impression. Huh?
Yes, thank you. I've learned from Chris, yes. You just got to start with a yes.
Okay. I'm out now. I'm done.
Cool.
I'm annoyed. I can't remember what I was going to... I'll have to listen to this back as soon as we're done just to remind myself what it was I was going to say before I sidetracked myself, which is, a frequent occurrence. Yeah, Rodri. There you go. I'll leave that. I'll leave that with Rodri.
He hasn't.
Really started his first game.
They've rested him.
Yeah.
They've got such a luxury.
Well, they had a kinder set of fixtures.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I know they travelled to Chelsea, but
that doesn't really count anymore, does it?
Well, it will when we're about to go there.
What's happening in Chelsea world? West Enders.
I think. Oh yeah, I haven't done a Chelsea update. No.
Well, it came out, didn't it, that Bowley and the owner of the other company, like Clear Lake or whatever they're called, have basically fallen out.
Yes.
And
yeah.
Each want each other to sell. They don't want to sell themselves. But it's funny.
Well, the latest is about the ground.
Oh right, okay.
They is it? What's the big exhibition? Earl's Court.
Yeah.
Area. Chelsea has said that they've gone quite far into the planning of a brand new stadium there, whereas the development that owns that, the company that owns that development, have said we've had no conversations with them at all. So it seemed a bit odd, but I haven't focused on that at all. But anyway, we'll save that for a quiet week next week.
Okay.
Who are we playing next week?
Leicester.
Is it League Cup?
I think, actually, we've got a League Cup game against Bolton and then Leicester.
And that's at home, isn't it?
Leicester is at home.
Okay,
Jamie Vardy returns. Ugh.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, he'll rest a load of players. Be interesting to pick a team for that. Yeah. Good luck on Sunday.
Cheers, mate. Yep, it'll be
and
good.
we might get some live feedback from you after the game.
We will see.
1-0. I think what I was saying was having a go at you two boys for predicting a draw, and I'm going for a 1-0 win.
Well, we predicted a draw. As Chris says, it's not what we hope will happen. We hope we win every game 4-0, but it's what we think.
You just don't think you don't think we'll win. You didn't think we'd beat Spurs. You don't think we'll beat City. Why the hell do you even go to these games?
At least I go to the bloody games. Let's not go down that route.
Blah, blah, blah.
This is what happens when Chris isn't here to keep us in check.
I had an away season ticket for 3 or 4 seasons around 98 2002. Great time to be a...
Oh, I bet it was, yeah.
It was absolutely... That's when I could afford it, and I had no other pulls on my time. It's not like that now.
No.
Anyway, right. Leave it there. Good luck on Sunday. We'll catch up then. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll do a post-City review, and it'll be all positive because my prediction will come true. Cheerio, guys. Take care.
See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at NorthBankPod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company.
When they came here, they fast us at the Etihad. I saw them and said, These guys, they don't want to beat us, they just want a draw.
Guys, listen to it. Listen to it. It's about the fighting standards.